Hello, everybody. Today I'll be talking about Warrior to Warrior, which is a nonprofit organization that helps veterans. What I've been working on is the application for the staff support, and I'll briefly go over this. It's still in development, it's not completed, but I did want to actually share this. So, this is what happens when the staff member actually logs in. And the actual idea behind this is if this application does go live successfully, like, and works out really well, what we'll do is I'll use this as a dual purpose, not only for staff members, but also for volunteers as well as people who need help. So that's why I set this application up so generically, like where you have this homepage where you can click here to volunteer, request resources, or contact us. Now it's kind of set up to look like their homepage or their web page intentionally. So that's the idea is that you'll have this application as well as their web page available where they almost kind of mimic each other, and at some point if it does work out, this will take over their web page as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have. I'm not really sure what all exactly we do have here because I've forgotten because it's been a while. Okay, so in the resources, this is if you wanted to sign up for resources. So let's say that you are a veteran and you were in need of help for something. So you would either, let's say you wanted education, you wanted employment. What type of employment? Do you want job placement information, job fair, resume assistance, etc.? So you would click on these or what all these that apply. And then what happens here is if you want all the resources, you will get all the resources. That's fine. But if you only want education, then when they send out newsletters and things of that nature that apply specifically to education, you'll get an email. But unless it relates directly to education, you won't get that email with that information in it because you did not request that. So that's kind of a targeted email system that I'm creating for them as well. So what you do here, though, obviously, is you just fill out your generic information. Works pretty simplistic. You just pick which branch and your status, whether you're active or inactive. Um, and then let's say that you want to volunteer. So here's where you fill out your volunteer information, or where they would actually manually enter it for you. And then we only have one armory location right now. Let's say this is for your background information. So whatever branch you were in, whatever your MOS was, the region where you live, your north, northwest, whatever. If you're an officer, NCO, you're active, inactive again, your birth date, gender, etc. Like when you're scheduled for your training date or when you completed it. If you passed your mental health assessment, your background check ID, that number, your marital status. So this is like some generic information about the volunteer and himself or herself. The next screen we have here, this is incomplete, but what this will have is it'll have a chart right here for interaction history um, based on this filter right here. That will be in there. So you can do it by months. You could filter out like active volunteers. Anything that you want, you can pretty much filter out or add in what you want into the graph once it's completed. Same thing for interactions. This will actually is a data grid viewer right here, and you can filter out what interactions you want to see that were logged. Same thing for volunteers, resources, and contacts will all work the same way. So you can actually track that information, those statistics, because believe it or not, those statistics, let's say that you're a volunteer and you're logging that information, that's actually very vital to the program itself because what they do with that information, they use that to apply for grants to fund the programs. So it's very vital if you are a volunteer that you actually log your interactions, even if it's just a simple hello to, you know, an active service member or whomever. It's really critical that you actually log that interaction because they use that statistic data to get funding. to support this program. So just make sure if you're a volunteer that you're actually logging all those interactions, even if you speak to a group. Log anything and everything. So speaking of logging interactions, here is our actual log for administration. So currently there's only myself, and then Corinne is in here. And to get into there is you have to be a member. Like you have to be able to log in and out. So, and that's part of the new user screen, but we won't go into that. So anyway, here we would log the interaction, what kind of type it was, um, and they'll be able to add on to this as well. Let's say you had a concern. What kind of concern did you have? Like you met up with a soldier, they're having an employment issue, maybe they're having a mental health issue, relationship problems, suicide, etc. So then you can log the date, and then you can actually type in what the concern is and submit it. I'm not going to actually type that in. So you can log that concern. You can do a follow-up. Like let's say you'll have a list of your follow-ups for the week, or a list of concerns. So then you would come in here and you'd actually log your follow-up with that particular soldier, whether it was through a phone call, an email, or you greeted them in person, and then you log your resolution, or what was the resolution, was the problem solved, yes or no. So that's that part. The exception log, this is more or less just for me, because I am the tech support on this, of course. So what this does, for you guys who are just curious or those who are developers, this is the exception log. So anytime that this application throws an exception, I log that exception. I capture the exception. I capture the location, what class it was in, and what time that it occurred. And I also capture the sub-procedure or function that threw the exception. Now currently I have 77 exceptions since I've been working on this. So I think that's pretty good considering how many exceptions we all normally throw when we're developing an application. So just keep that in mind before you criticize me too heavily. Let's see here. So here's our user administration. So what this is, and this is an incomplete screen, but what will happen over here is we'll have a list of all users who are registered. And then what you can do in here is, because this never happens, I forgot my password, or I forgot my question, to answer my password or whatnot. So they'll actually be able to come in here and change your answer or change your email or whatever and administer your actual account so you can log in. So that's what this is for. And as you notice, they never actually get to change your password, but what they can do is they can change your question and your answer. So you can go in there and you can log in using the forgot my password question and then answer it, and then go back and change your password later yourself. So, and then what we have here is all the drop downs that you see. This is where all this is actually going to come from, where you can actually add and remove from those drop downs. So let's say that you wanted to get rid of unknown, you can remove it from here, and then you could add in something new. I'm not going to add it in, but you can. Same thing for all these other drop downs. Your armory location. When you create a new armory location, let's say that we have North Riverside. Well, I want to create a new one for Illinois. So I'll create a new one. I'll type in the name here and I'll click add. But it's very important that you have the location, name, and then the state. Because if I just said North Riverside and I didn't specify a state, well, what if there's two North Riversides in Indiana, and one in Indiana and one in Illinois, or one in California or whatever? We won't know. Now, currently the program is only in Illinois, but the idea, of course, is to grow the program beyond our state. So if that occurred, we would need that functionality in there. So I went ahead and just established it, just thinking ahead, which any good developer would do. So this is pretty much the application. This is pretty much how it works, from the administrative side. And this is pretty much where it's at currently. I'm going to actually be working toward getting this application ready for release. It'll still be a work in project, but they'll actually be actively using it in the meantime, because they actually can use this currently, because these two screens right here are the most vital screens for adding in resources, and then adding in users is the two most important things, and then this is the third most important thing. But I can't do this until we have this and this, so I need data in order to get this to work and to know that it's working. So that's the warrior to warrior application that I'm currently working on. I hope you guys like it. I hope you found this a little bit informative. Please post your comments about this application. I've worked really hard on it, and I hope that it does some good.